Hello, sweet listeners. This is your favorite indie author, Kay McCoy, your host for the Story Stations podcast. And today we are featured by none other than the fabulous J.A. Forde. Hey, thank you for joining me for today's episode of the Story Station podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yay! I love it that when people are excited because it makes me even more excited to talk to you about your stories. So, before we get into your stories, especially your Love Along the Way series, I would love for you to take a moment, introduce yourself really quickly, and tell us one fun fact about yourself.
Absolutely. So I am an indie author and a more recent indie author. My been out within the last year, and I'm also a military spouse. So I've lived in a lot of places, travel, kind of I love to travel. Inspire my stories and things like that. Um, a fun fact about me: I, hmm, I so many random things that I could share.
I know it's hard. You're like, wait, I know things about me. Why can't I think of them right now?
Yeah, random ones. Let's see. I love Sour Patch Kids. It's like falls on like the candy spectrum.
So, wait, do you have a favorite Sour Patch Kid? Or like, Sour Patch Kids are just pretty much you just reach your hand in and they're all fun colors, but they're all still sour, right? It's
Right.
been so long since I had one, so I'm like, wait, what is a Sour Patch Kid again? Obviously, I'm more of a nerds kid, so that probably explains a lot.
Nerds cluster desk right now, so I get
Oh yeah, that's right. I've never had. I think the clusters is just that probably be too much for me.
a weird. It's a weird combination of chewy and nerd. It's a very thing,
It's a great conversation starter though. Like when you think about
right? Like we're
it.
right into our candy obsessions. It's fine.
Yeah.
So I love all of them. I think there's a cherry, like specific cherry Sour Patch Kids, and I think those are my favorite. They're really good.
Oh, okay. So there are flavors apparently. All I ever taste is a sour. At least with like the nerds, I got a little bit of sugar, so that could be why too.
Yeah. There's
Very cool. What is the favorite one-liner that you've ever written?
ooh,
I
favorite.
know that's a tough question because I mean, again, you've written quite a few books and you have more on the way, but I gotta ask.
Uh, I think one of them was in my first book. There's a part where the female main character is talking with a side character about just kind of the hand that she's been dealt and like how
Mhm.
her life has kind of been. And the side character said something along the lines of, like you were dealt like this specific hand, but like you don't have to keep playing it. Like maybe it's time for like new cards or a new game entirely. And that one just really like hits for me, and it hits for a lot of my readers too, where they're like, that's just like that overarching like life like thing of
Yeah.
like so you just need to like discard some of the things that you've and like be like, all right, we're gonna start something fresh. We're gonna move forward, and uh, so that's kind of one of my favorites, I think.
I love that though. It's like honestly, like yeah, you were dealt a bad hand, but you don't have to keep playing this hand.
Yeah,
Like it is time to what is it? There's a phrase like when you're playing poker. What is it? Not cut, burn, or something like burn. I forget what it is. But there, obviously, I don't play poker. But there's that thing that's called where you like you burn the deck or someone in the comments tell me what is that phrase, and I promise you I'll use it in a book. I will learn poker just so I can use it in a book just one time. But so now, speaking of books, you have quite a few. So let's go ahead and dive into the Love Along the Way series.
so there's two books currently that are out. So the first book is On a Flight to Sydney, and
Mhm.
so book one in the series, they are interconnected standalones. So you don't have to read them in order. You don't have to like read each one, but you do get to see the characters kind of carry over one to the next a little bit in that. So On a Flight to Sydney was my book. I released that last, so almost a year old, which is really exciting.
Aw. The first book anniversary.
Baby's about to turn 1, and it's really so, yeah. That was my first book, and was really like such a learning process and like a learning curve. Kind of jumping into that one, it's set, so I very much love a good destination romance. Lots of
Same. They give
wander.
you so much to play with when you go to a destination. It's like, how can you not love a destination story?
Exactly. And it's fun. Like, I mean, a lot of people use reading as an escape to be able to go kind of get outside of their norm, get outside of their head and their life. But it's fun to like also escape to like a place you've maybe never gone or maybe never will go, and like get that place as well. So it's fun to write those locations.
Yeah, I love that. And the second book in the series?
Is On the Slopes of Tahoe. So that one, I'm actually from the Lake Tahoe area, like grew up
Oh,
in.
really? Yeah.
It was really fun to kind of bring that back in, as part of like writing and being able to write something a little bit more local for me. But for a lot of people, a lot of people don't get to go to Tahoe or see that place either. And so it's still kind of got that destination vibe to it. And yeah, that one was really fun to write and has been really fun to like watch with like my local, friends and local bookstores that are all like really excited about it, because it's a book about, their area, their town. So
And I love that because honestly, the first thing that came to mind when I saw the name, I knew it was a place, but I immediately thought of the SUV. And I feel like that was a crime. So I love that you were able to make this more of a destination story for your readers while also being able to tap into places that you grew up in, which is really cool. Like, wow. So this book you can like right now, do you have it like available at indie bookstores or is it only available online or where can readers find your books?
it's a combination of both. So they're available online. So of course, through Amazon, they're both, these two are both available on Kindle Unlimited. You can get but you can also get them like Barnes and Noble online. You can order there, most online retailers. You can order from. There are some independent bookstores that also carry them online. There's a couple that I been signed copies, and things like that. So yeah, it's been really fun. And then I have a good amount of more local bookstores that I provide signed books to and stuff as well.
I'm sorry, you were saying you have like, is it a consignment? Like you have a couple of local bookstores where you can also find the book because again, it's in your hometown, right? So I would love that.
Yeah, I have one particular bookstore that's in, my hometown where I grew up, and they have been such a huge supporter for, in that way and stuff. And they have my books there on consignment. I dropped a bunch more off yesterday because they're constantly like, we're out of books, we need more. It's
I love that. Keeping that indie dream alive because a lot of indie authors say how hard it is to get their books anywhere. And it's really disheartening when you can't even get your book into like a consignment store. So, for people that aren't sure what a consignment store is, can you briefly explain what that is for them?
Yeah, so with with some independent bookstores and things, you can essentially like, I drop off, a set of books with an invoice. Books I dropped off, and what my wholesale price is for those, and they sell, then the bookstore pays me back. So it helps for the bookstore to be able to, it's a little bit less of a risk for them to carry a newer author, because not having to buy a whole bunch of books up front that they may or may not be able to sell. So, but then it allows them to, sell those books, and then they, pay out your percentage once those books sell. So it works out really well, local stores and things like that to be able to do that. And then I have some that will buy them, right? Just so they know that they'll get through them and everything and stuff too. Yeah, it's pretty neat to get to work with those, smaller bookstores as well.
And I love that, honestly, that you're able to do that. And it gives me hope. So for all you other fellow authors who are listening right now, that's the way to do it. If you're writing about your hometown, where you're from, go to the indie bookstores and strike up a deal for a consignment. And remember, bookstores are also, they need to make a profit, otherwise they disappear. So your consignment is probably going to be, I don't quote me, but I've heard to the tune of maybe 30% or 40%. Again, they're buying the book from you, and then when the book sells, they give you a percentage. So keep that in mind. And then also you have a third book coming out. It's not out yet. So what can you tell us about the third book in this series?
So the third book, I just announced the title, I think last week. So the title for that one is going to be On the Ferry to Skye. So that one is set in like on the Isle of Skye in Scotland. Yeah, full Scottish romance. It's fun. I love it. So yeah, it's really fun to write. I love to write about places that I've been and that, you know, I really love spending time. And so like on a flight to Sydney, I went to Sydney College and did a study abroad there for a few months. And that was incredible. And so that was kind of what inspired me to want to write about Sydney. Tahoe was obviously home for me, so that was why I wanted to write about it. And then Scotland has just always had a piece in my heart. I love a good Scottish romance. I've been reading Scottish romance, it feels like, for a very long time, like the Outlander books and then like the TV series. Like I just love those. There's several other Scottish authors that I just adore. And so and I've visited Scotland twice in my life, and I just love it. And so it was just a like must write about Scotland. So
Yeah. I love that. Oh, listen, just give me all the feels with, like you said, Scotland. Now, making sure I say it right. Scotland romance, yeah. Like, I love. Again, it's something about multicultural to me that makes me like want to read these stories because I know that you're going to help me escape. Like either I'm going to escape to somewhere near your hometown or a place that you visit. Like I know those little extra touches are like going to be in your story, and it just makes me fall in love with the idea of reading it. So I know it's going to be a great read. Now, out of all of the three stories that you've written so far for the series, which one was the easiest to write for as in terms of your characters? I know you got the locations and all the settings and everything like that, but like the dialogue, the characters, which one was the easiest, I should say?
I think like in terms of like the easiest, I feel like was the first book.
Really?
I feel like that's not the norm, but I went into writing, I started writing as very much like I don't know if this is going to be something that like is ever going to go anywhere. Like I could write this whole thing and it could sit on my computer and never go anywhere, but I just wanted to do it. And I think I had such like, I didn't have like these really crazy expectations on myself of like exactly what it needed to be and how to make it all, you know, perfect, at least in that, you know, first drafting stage. And just really had a lot of freedom to just like have fun and like let the story go where it wanted to go. And
you had none of the pressures of like readers and fan fiction, and you just kind of just did your own thing. Honestly, that's the dream. Like when people tell you like the first time you write a book, they're like, okay, you've done this is the easy part. And they're not kidding. Like I love that moment when you're just writing to write the story and there's no outside pressures around you. I love that. So I shouldn't be surprised that the first one was the easiest to write. Now, which one was the more, I'm not going to say hard, but the more challenging one for the characters?
yeah, I think in a way, the second book I think was my most challenging. And it's
Sophomore blues.
like me and my writer friends, we call it second book syndrome. And it is.
Ooh. I like that though. Second book syndrome sounds way better than sophomore blues. Second book syndrome. But okay, I think I'm going to have to start using that for now.
It's so true. It's just, it's hard because one, you, especially like if you know, you gained some readers with your first, and in the case of my books, you know, they're interconnected. So the character second book, they kind of get set up, like you see some setup for their story coming at the end of the first. So people are excited. Like they want to know what's going to happen. They want to know what's going to happen with these characters, and they're really invested. And so the pressure starts to build, where that first book, you're like, I can do whatever I want. This is great. And the second book, you're like, oh, shoot, like I have to meet these expectations. I have to make sure that it's as good or better than the first book. And it's a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
And then even with that, like, the characters were just a little bit harder to get right. Like I actually ended up, like I wrote probably about 20,000 words of the second book and started over at the beginning and like had to completely restart. Wow. The basic storyline.
It just wasn't like gelling together. Like it felt forced, or like you didn't like it, because 20K is a lot to just kind of put on the shelf.
It is a lot. I was not real happy about it. And I was lose some of what I had, but a lot of it was just like I wasn't in love with the way that the characters were coming across, and I wanted them to have a little bit different, like the way their chemistry was, what their backgrounds kind of were coming in was needed to be a little different. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm so glad that I did that, and it totally made the story so much better, but it just I've never had to completely start over before, and that was like, oh my gosh.
Like when did you realize within that 20K, like, yep, I'm going to have to start over? Was it like 5K in, 12K in, 17K in? Like, when did you finally say, okay, this was just a dry run, I have to rate this again? I can't.
I mean, I think it was like I probably got to probably like around like that, like 17 to like 18K.
Yeah.
Pulling teeth to get the words out. Like I was like, it's just coming. Where up to that point, I felt like it was flowing and it was gelling. I kind of hit this wall and was like, I can't figure out where to go from here. Like it's not working. And so I had to kind of like take a minute and like figure out like what does that look like if I need to start over? Like what does that do to like my timeline? What does that do to, all the things? And but it worked out and it was good, but it's still a frustrating place to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we have taken on this profession, and it really is just a series of revisions and rewrites, and it's a lot. So as far as that challenge goes, like that's not something you really expect, but it is something that does happen, and it's like, what do? You have to start over because you're still committed to writing the story. Yeah. So I totally understand. Now, my next question, this one is, again, it's related to your entire body of work. So don't feel like you have to limit it to just the series. But if they're speaking of like revisions, is there anything you would love to add or kind of take back from a previous character that you've written? Like that one thing that you're like, it kind of fits for the story, but I wish I had done this instead.
That's a really good question.
And like not even for it to be in the story, but just to see what happens. Like that one thing, like if I had just done this instead, like maybe had them in this scene or maybe had them make a different choice, like how different would that story be? That's the real question.
Okay, so I have kind of a story that goes along with that. So in my second book, he's a single dad, second book, and so he has a 7-year-old daughter who I adore. So the Breck is his name. So he's the main character in the second book. So he is the best friend in the first book. So you see him a lot. He shows up a lot from Australia. So you get to see him and his daughter a lot in the first book. But with the first book, when I originally wrote it and all the way up through my first round of edits, like it was with my editor for her first round of edits, he did not have a kid in the book up to that point. He was not a dad. There was no kid. He in a relationship. There was all of these things, but like there was no kid.
Wow. That would have been an entirely different story. Okay, please continue. I'm locked in.
So it was funny. So like the second book is obviously set at Tahoe. It's a winter romance. There's snowboarding and stuff. And so essentially like while I was in the middle of writing the first book,
Mm-hmm.
snowboarding up at Tahoe, my husband was teaching our daughter how to snowboard, and it was just this whole thing. And like,
Oh,
I was
just
like,
right in the chest, all the feels.
he needs to be a dad in this story. Like, he needs a kid that he can teach how to snowboard. Like, this needs to be.
Mhm.
And I remember like sending my friend a message, like sitting on the chairlift, and I was like, so what if I make Breck a dad? Like, I'm gonna have to rewrite all of his part of like the first
Everything.
book. I'm gonna have to rewrite. And I was like, but what do we think? And she was like, oh. And I was like,
She knew the work that you're going to have to do, but at the same time, even she couldn't deny that it was worth doing.
we kind of like, I spelled it out, and she was like, yeah, you're gonna have to do that. So like, I got it back from my editor. It was done with like her first round, and then I had to go through and like and like obviously I had to go through all of her edits, but then I was also having to rewrite everything that had to do with his character in the first book to where it was set up properly for the second book for have a kid, and adding her in. And like, honestly, if I thought writing the second book was hard as it was, it would have been so much harder had I not done that, because I can't even imagine where that story would have gone had he not been set up as a single dad and didn't have like, it would have been a completely different book entirely. And
Completely subgenre, the whole thing.
so different. So funny because I mean, yeah, like if you like went through all of my drafts, you'd be like, he doesn't have a kid, he doesn't have a kid, he doesn't have a kid. And then it's like, oh, how about add a kid? Like,
Yeah.
and this was like after all of my beta readers, to where like, so like with my beta readers, I was like, you might want to reread it because this is like a whole different, like there's a lot that changed.
But see, beta readers love that. Like beta readers, I'm speaking now as a beta reader, but like we love that because it's like that's one of the reasons why I love beta reading, because I love seeing the story like at the very beginning, and then when I reread the book again, usually like after it's been published, it's like, oh wow, she went with this way, or like, oh no, he chose to do that. Like, oh my god, like it's almost like you're reading two books for like one, and I love that whole process.
Yeah, so that was kind of, I think that's the biggest thing I've ever had where like,
Mhm.
I was like, I think I need to make this different. And like, luckily it was still in the process that I could. Like, if it had been later, it
Mhm.
able to make those changes, and it would have been.
Oh, no way. But it's so cool that that's the one thing that you would have changed, because it's not a small thing. Like I was thinking like maybe the dialogue would have changed, like maybe someone's perspective would have changed, but no, this person, a whole new human being was added to the story. Wow, that's incredible. The fact that you were able to do that and you had a team that wanted to support you in doing this is like really cool. So shout out to your beta readers and your editor and your friend for leading you on the right track and not telling you to do something else.
They definitely could have been like, no, it's too late.
Right? Like a lot of people were like, okay, when are you planning on publishing this again? No, you can't do that. And they just said, no, we trust you, do it. I love that you have that support. It's incredible.
So it was worth it. The second would not have been anything like it is now, and I honestly don't even know what that story would have ended up being.
That's
With
wild. It's like we're talking about two totally different stories at this point. But wow, I, for one, cannot wait to read the Love Along the Way series. Like, that's going to be incredible. Like, yeah, I'm excited. So before we go, I do have a few, I want to say rapid fire questions. So far, they haven't been answered rapidly. So we'll let you decide. Okay. So, first question, favorite writer's fuel?
writer's fuel. So definitely coffee. Always coffee.
At this point, coffee and imagination is where it's at. Yeah.
So coffee and Sour Patch Kids and popcorn, I feel like are like,
That's your trifecta. Like,
yeah.
wow. Okay. Love it. Next question, Hallmark or Lifetime?
Hallmark?
That came with a question. Are you one of those Christmas in July girlies, or is it like
It's more about like I will happily like watch like a Hallmark or Lifetime like movie, but I just don't watch them frequently. Like it's not something that like is like my regular go-to. I feel like
Mhm.
I more of them when I'm like at my mom's because she'll just like have them playing like background like all the time. And so then and I'm always like really invested when I do, but it's just not something that like I think to be like I'm gonna watch a Lifetime movie or a Hallmark movie.
like
And so,
you don't plan it in your day? If it's
yeah,
on, you're not going to turn it off. Okay,
yeah.
respect. I can see that. Okay, fluffy or steamy?
Uh, both. Uh,
I love this white shoes era. I love it.
it is my era with me. I just love both. Like I will read the whole spectrum from like the like fluffiest, like sweetest, like just super like wholesome stories to like really spicy stories. Like it just depends on like what I'm in the mood for. And so like I'm very like I will read it all along like and be very invested no matter what it is. So
No matter what. Well, I'm surprised because I mean we do have like subcategories for a reason, or I should say subgenres, and everyone is either saying one or why choose. Like they're very adamant, like this is what I write or this is what I read, and I'm like, okay, I'll let you all have it. Fine. Okay, next question: random or playlist?
um for like while I'm writing.
Yeah, while you're writing. Mhm.
So generally music wise while I'm writing, I go for instrumental because I like if I have a lot of words like in
Mhm.
the music while I'm trying to write, like it's very like I get very distracted and I'm focusing on the words in the song and like not in the words on the page. And so I focus primarily on like I use mostly instrumental or like apps that have like sounds that are supposed to be like helpful for
Yeah.
focus and things like that.
I love that. There's a fellow author friend of mine years ago. She introduced me to because she's a gamer and she plays the Journey, this game, and the soundtrack. I still listen to it to this day, and she introduced it to me like 3 years ago. So I used to say like random playlist, but now I'm writing with intent, and that's like one of my go-to playlists. Like I listen to the whole thing. I think it's like 2 hours or like an hour and 30 minutes long. It's incredible because every time I write to it, it's something different. I don't know what it is. I was like, what did y'all put on this soundtrack? Like, what is in this vinyl?
I feel like I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, it's really good. Like it gives you those feelings. Like and it's in a very like not monotone, but like a very steady thing. Like and there's some ebbs and flows to it, but for the most part, it definitely gets you in an emotional whirlwind. So I definitely recommend it. Now, what do you wish you had known before becoming an author, especially romance author? Because there are rules to this, and I didn't know all of them. So I like to ask everyone else, like, what do you wish you had known before becoming a romance author?
Um, oh, I know there are a lot of like
Yeah.
in writing that, and some of them I feel like are great, and some of them I'm like, um,
Some of them are debatable.
obviously like you have to have the happy ending if you're a romance author. I'm all about that. But there are definitely some like I'm trying to think of what I wish I'd known uh, before I even got started, and probably just like how like I guess maybe there is involved specifically for being an indie romance author because you don't get to just write books. Like you don't get to just be like, la da, here's the book and like, put it on Amazon and you're done. Like I mean, I'm sure there are people who do that and that's fine. But it's more the like amount of time that's put in on marketing and all of the pieces that go along with it that are just things that you don't even know exist
Yeah.
as of having to figure out how to publish it, how to get all these things done, how to get readers, how to do ARC readers, how to like there's just so much involved.
So much. Yeah. Really. Finding beta readers, vetting editors, like there's always something. So final question, your favorite social media?
So I'm an Instagram girly. I'm an Instagram girly. Um, I think the other social medias have their place for sure and everything, but I'm an Instagram girl. It's my bread and butter. I have some Facebook stuff that I do, but for the most part, it's Instagram for me. But yeah.
Well, thank you again so much for being on the Story Station podcast with me. I, again, cannot wait to hear all about the rest of the Love Along the Way series. And I hope all the readers and AKA listeners today will enjoy reading these stories as well. So thank you again so much. Before we go, is there anything else you wanted to say before we close out this episode?
I just love to talk books, and so getting to do always just such a blast. And for the readers, the listeners out there that, are interested, you can find me on Instagram. You search J.A. Forde. My handle is the.sah.authormom. So it's kind of stay at home author mom. So that's me. And yeah, so check that out if you want to stay, in the loop. I have a newsletter as well, where that's an easy way to stay in the loop as well if you're not big on socials. And yeah, but anytime if you ever have questions or anything about my books, feel free to drop into my DMs. I'm very, open to chat books anytime. So
I love that. You're pro DMs. It's like a lot of people forget they even have them and then they open it like once every quarter. And it's like, ooh.
I try and stay on top of it as best I can, for sure.
Go. Well, thank you again so much. It was a pleasure having you. And thank you all so much for listening to another episode of the Story Station podcast. I'm Kay McCoy, your host, and we are signing off. Bye, everyone.